All right, thank you. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about a bunch of different topics, but what you're going to find that's consistent about all the topics that I'm going to be talking about is that I'm going to try to balance negative stuff that happened to Black men, and then also balance it out with how we can help. What's the solution? How can we help engage Black men in mental health? Because that's one of the major problems that we have in society, where Black men choose not to access mental health services, and you're going to see why we choose not to access. And then also, my second half of my presentation is going to be like why we need to access and what will help Black men do better when we do access those services. So before we actually, let me go back. So I'm going to talk a little bit briefly about my own background, my own expertise, go down statistical breakdown, systemic racism, stigma attached to psychotherapy, effects of social media on Black men, incarceration effects of mental health, role of religion in mental health, and then ways to engage Black men in mental health. So it's going to, even though most of the problems are listed, but you'll see a lot of the solutions that I'm going to be talking about is going to be in the sections talking about ways to engage Black men in mental health. So just a quick background on myself. I just put up some photo of my kids, my younger self and my adult self, to give you all just a little bit of background into why I chose to be a mental health profession. So I was born in the Bahamas while my parents were trying to make their way to the U.S. Both of my parents are Haitian, and so religion was important for my mother, and that's who I was mainly raised with, because my dad, he was financially there, but he wasn't physically in the household. So socioeconomic environmental issues that kind of impacted me, that I see that happens to me now as an adult, is how I look at money. When I was a kid, with my mom, with four other siblings, she had 5 children. She had to take care of us. One thing we always struggled with was finances. So I find that some of the stuff that happened to me as a kid, as an adult, I find that money is very important to me. And I always make sure that I have some kind of safety net in terms of finances because of my childhood um, upbringing. And so a lot of that stuff is like through psychoanalysis, you realize a lot of the stuff that happens to you in childhood has a direct effect on how you act as an adult. So, and then also joining a fraternity when I was in college, just seeing how that rites of passage that we don't have, like in Africa, when kids are young men in Africa, they go through a rites of passage. And I looked at pledging a little bit that way, because I went through a lot of stress, because we actually did pledging back then. So I went through a lot of stress, and then I realized you don't really know who you are until you go through physical stress, mental stress, all kinds of stuff. But I got a chance to know who I really was when I was in college. And then just the profession that really made me want to go into mental health was when I was working at DC